I've got a question for you. Why do you think they look like this? Most snake species tend to do well with the little eyes that they've got. Hell, even the so-called big-eyed snake doesn't have eyes that are that big. Well, a lot of snakes, no offense to them, don't have particularly good eyesight. I mean, some of them can't even see at all, like the European blind snake. If they're fossorial, their eyes don't tend to be good. And a lot of snakes are fossorial. But the thing is, fossorial species don't need their eyes to be good. I mean, when you're sensing vibrations all day and sniffing your way around through pheromone-scented tunnels, then eyesight's not going to help you anymore because it's already pitch black. But when it comes to arboreal snakes, that's a different story. If you're in the trees, vibrations don't really help for sensing predators, since your biggest threat are going to be birds coming from the sky. And they also don't help for prey, since there's constantly vibrations from everything. Leaves rustling, insects walking around, branches shaking around, tree trunks shaking around. As for your sense of smell, that's also going to be pretty hard to track down any prey from that, just because a lot of scents, as well as a lot of moisture in the air, as well as a lot of wind in the air that's blowing around scents from all sorts of different directions, so your sense of smell isn't going to be particularly reliable. So when both senses aren't great, then how are you going to navigate the trees? You're going to have big-ass eyes. They've got the slit pupils, which are a mark of sharp eyesight. When snakes have slit pupils, that's an indicator of one of two possible things. A majority of the time, it's an indicator that they are ambush predators. No, it doesn't mean they blink sideways. I don't know why that's a myth that some people spread. They don't blink. They don't blink at all. They don't have movable eyelids, but that's besides the point. And it's also not an indicator that they're venomous. There's a lot of venomous species that have circular pupils. That's also beside the point. Either way, slit pupils provide the ability to detect more colors in a wider variety of light levels. The more colors the eyes let in when it's dark, the better they're able to see. The reason humans can't see in pitch black darkness is because our eye's color spectrum has a limited amount of dark colors. This is why you'll hear people say that slit pupils are a mark of nocturnal species, which is, admittedly, something that I used to believe. But it's more complicated than that. Leopard geckos, for instance, have slit pupils despite being crepuscular rather than strictly nocturnal, mostly because they need the added depth perception to hunt and are often found in caves and rock crevices. Now, when it comes to the fiddle-string snake, they have big eyes with slit pupils. The big eyes provide a larger view of everything around them, while the slit pupils help them distinguish colors better at night, since they are nocturnal. But it also lets them see prey that's further away, like on the forest floor, for instance. But their food isn't limited to the forest floor. They can also hunt in trees as well, due to their body plan being perfect for wrapping around branches while still remaining somewhat out of sight from birds. Their gangly little bodies, their fiddle-string-like bodies, if you will, are perfect for remaining covert until a brown anole walks by, in which case, that's dinner. The fiddle-string snake is also called the blunt-headed snake, the chunk-headed snake, the neotropical blunt-headed tree snake, Riemennacher, which is in German, Cordelia manchade in Spanish, and in Portuguese, Cipó-Olhuda, or Cobra-Cipó, Cobra-Fio, Dorme-Dorme, Dorme-Deira, Dormin-Oca, Jararaquina, and Papa-Lesma. They're native to all over South America and the east coast of Mexico. Now that keen eyesight definitely contributes to an overall more adaptable way of living, which is helpful when you can live throughout the entirety of the various biomes of South America. From the heavily urbanized cities of Brazil to the rural neighborhoods of Venezuela, the fiddle-string snake manages to find food commonly enough to keep its populations high. Not to mention having mating season being year-round. It's not hard for them to mate when mates are already very plentiful. But they're also one of the few species that doesn't have a designated mating season. It's all the time. When a male sees a female, it's on sight. In fact, they're so plentiful that seeing territorial displays between males is rather common. When a male fiddle-string snake is getting busy with a female, he uses his anterior body to push away any competing males, at least in that moment. Now they are also polygynandrous, which of course means that both males and females see multiple partners within the same mating season. They lay eggs fast too, clutches of 1 to 3, so admittedly a small amount for a snake. But when you keep in mind that that's just from one partner, and one female will see many partners throughout the entirety of mating season, which can be forever, It's gonna be a lot of eggs. Not to mention that the eggs themselves spend little to no time within the mother just before they're laid, likely so that she can get back to partying all day with the others. Now this is definitely the most virile species that I've covered yet, and although it definitely depends on the country exactly how virile they are, the pattern of procreating a lot is still a commonality. Typically, the wetter and or warmer it is, the higher success rate the eggs will have, which is why in Brazil, which is the 43rd rainiest country in the world, they have constant mating. But in Mexico, the eggs are only laid in a window between June and July, while the rainiest months are July and August. The eggs themselves take roughly a month to hatch. I'm sure you can see the correlation in the times table. As far as food goes, they are somewhat flexible, eating mostly small anoles, other snakes, frogs, and the eggs of reptiles and amphibians. Not the eggs of birds though, they're not ready for them. They're not like egg-eating snakes, so they can't eat bird eggs currently. Sorry guys. Reptile eggs, though, are soft and leathery, so they're easy to digest. Amphibian eggs are tiny and squishy like jelly, so they're probably the easiest thing to digest that they could possibly swallow. Frogs themselves, however, well, if you know hognose snakes, specifically western hognose snakes, then you can probably expect a trait that they have in common with the fiddle-string snake. Fiddle-string snakes are rear-fanged and venomous. The venom isn't anything for humans to worry about, and they don't really bite people either. Their head is much too small for that. But still, this is something common in a lot of frog-eating snakes. The main theory as to why this is a thing is that it overpowers frogs and toads' main defense mechanism. That would, of course, be inflating themselves full of air like a balloon. I'm sure you can imagine what would happen if they tried doing this on the mouth of a rear-fanged snake. So fiddle-string snakes mate an insane amount. They have very keen eyesight, and they have rear fangs that can overpower basically anything that they want to fit in their mouths. What can't they do? Well, they can't harm humans, of course. Not that they would want to, just in general can't take it down anything big, which is to be expected. They are commonly hunted by laughing falcons, which is definitely an interesting name for such a dangerous animal. Overall, fiddle-string snakes are quite good at what they do and are very good at keeping their numbers up. So, good on them. That's pretty much it for as far as fiddle-string snakes go, though. We admittedly don't know a whole lot about a lot of fields of them, but we do know their general adaptations and what they typically eat and who usually does the predating on them. Though if you are a herpetologist who lives in South America and who is looking for potentially a new area of study, might I suggest looking into the fiddle-string snake's intraspecific methods of communication? They're common enough so that there might be something there worth studying. Perhaps there's pheromones or some kind of tactile language that they have going on. Might be interesting. They do have a Jacobson's organ, so there definitely is some usage of pheromones going on in fiddle-string snakes. But that's going to be it from me for today. Thank you for watching, and shout out to fiddle-string snakes, and shout out to South America, and shout out to anyone who lives in South America. Yeah, and so